Bryan, thank you so much for coming on the Easy Prey podcast today.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
Glad to have you here. So, can you give the audience a little bit of background about who you are and your background, and then we're just going to do a deep dive into your psyche now.
I'm a fairly open book, but maybe save that for a day that you got nothing better to do. My name is Bryan Seely. I'm a cybersecurity expert, ethical hacker. I do a lot of public speaking now, trying to educate consumers or companies on the dangers that are kind of out there and try and do things in a funny way. I wrote a book that's both the worst and the best book on the subject because it's the only one on the subject.
There you go.
On map hacking and how people manipulate Google Maps and Bing Maps and Yelp. That was like a decade ago. I am famous for wiretapping the Secret Service and the FBI without permission. And that is, in case someone hasn't figured that out, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea.
So, what made you want to do that? Not the book, but what made you want to wiretap
Poor
the
judgment,
government?
Chris. Poor judgment. That was one of those there's a moment of defiance because I was trying to get Google to fix an issue and show them how serious the problem was. And I built a bunch of funny business listings to try and call attention.
Yeah.
I changed a concentration camp in North Korea. I added a spot on the map for it to Super Mega Funtime Happy Land. It was a South Park joke. And then I renamed the Church of Scientology, the Mormon Temple, Christian Church. I made them all comedy clubs. And then I made the Russian embassy in the UK a gay bar. And so I'm not allowed in Russia. Safe to say. And then I put Edward Snowden's secret hiding place on the White House lawn. And then on camera with Como News here in Seattle, I changed the Library of Congress to the Zoolander School of Kids Who Can't Read Good.
I know that reference.
That was funny. And then that didn't really get their attention. So I thought about it should I? No, not should I, because that's a no, you should not.
Why don't
I? Could I take this further and actually what are the motivating factors in crime or anything really? Power, money. And so power comes with control or blackmail. So could I get information about something by using these techniques, like maybe a law firm, presidential candidate, bank, law enforcement? And then it just spiraled and went, the train of thought went straight down the toilet. And I thought Secret Service, Washington, D.C., because why not? Because that's scary. And FBI in San Francisco, because I'd been watching The Rock recently, and why not? So yeah, I did that, and it worked really well, and it worked really fast.
How quick before they found out?
They didn't find out. I called the FBI, and because it's going to be difficult for them to find out because it's not a property that they have control over. Everyone submits their business information in a crowdsourced fashion to Google and all these other sites. Well, we trust Google to give us the results that are the most accurate. And that's been the case for so long. Well, I could change who that person was on the map without you even knowing with a phone number that routes to the same people, but I can now record the call in the middle.
Yeah.
So I walked into the Secret Service office after the FBI hung up on me and said, "Hey, I wiretapped you guys. I know that's a really bad idea, but it's already done, and I wanted to fill you in on why this is a big problem." And they're like, "Okay, we'll look into it." I mean,
is it because you walked in the front because you weren't a target of an investigation that they just didn't take it seriously?
I mean, it could have been that. It could have been like, this guy's crazy. They kind of treated me like a tinfoil hat nut job because it sounded pretty fantastical.
Yeah.
And why would you just walk in? But that's probably the thing that saved me out of any of it, is that they didn't catch me. They wouldn't have caught me in any reasonable amount of time. The only way somebody would have caught me is if they had gone on a website looked up the Secret Service and checked the phone number to make sure it was accurate. That's a very specific task that they don't exactly have extra time for.
And they wouldn't think that that's how you did it.
They wouldn't know to look because the number works.
Yeah, you
The
call it, it rings
425
through.
area code in Seattle that you call when you get the Secret Service DC during that time routed to their switchboard. That was it. So the Secret Service agents, there's 3 of them, and we're in this maybe 20 by 20 room in the little lobby that they have in downtown Seattle. And after 15 minutes, they asked me to leave. I said, okay, I can prove this. And if I can't in 5 minutes, I'll leave. Call the DC office of the Secret Service. Knowing he's probably got an Android, and knowing that Android, he's going to search either Google Maps or just Google Secret Service Washington, DC, or Washington, DC Secret Service. Any combination of those 4 words.
Yeah.
And that's basically what anyone would look for. That result at the top was mine. He pushes the call button, but because the UI is so narrow, it doesn't actually show the phone number for you to even notice there's a problem. It just has a call button.
Yeah.
You push call, someone answers. He goes, yeah, this is agent so-and-so in Seattle. Yep. Oh, no, we're just investigating something. Yeah. Hey, thanks, man. Like, they had a prior relationship. They've known each other before. I mean, he's called this number before. So everything went according to plan. And then I got a notification that said, do you want to listen to your new marketing call campaign recording for Secret Service? I'm like, yes, I would. Yes. And I pushed play and I pushed speakerphone. And now we heard phone ringing, and you hear the guy, Secret Service. And like, he sounds so cool, like a guy on the radio, and like the tower,
dark sunglasses.
Right. Like, it's not Secret Service. Like, hi. Like, he's not cheerful at all. And then we heard the whole conversation. The other 2 agents and I now could hear the other dude, and they lost their sense of humor. And then I lost all my stuff.
Were you? I don't know the story. So were you? Did they actually charge you with anything?
No,
Ooh,
they didn't.
That's
4 hours. I had to sit in the guest suite, less of a suite and more of a small room with no windows, a little table, a handcuff bar like thing. I didn't get handcuffed at any point. I did get a form that said, here are your Miranda rights. Do you understand them? But I wasn't under arrest and I wasn't detained officially.
And how old were you?
I was
30. Over 18?
I was 30.
Oh, okay.
I mean, 18 would have been perfectly fine to know that that was a bad idea. But at 30, I really should have known.
Yeah.
So 4 hours later, I got to explain this over and over and over and over and over and demo. But it took a while to demo because I had to tether to my phone. They wouldn't let me on their Wi-Fi.
I wonder why.
Right. Oh, thinking about it gives me a little bit of anxiety. But because I didn't get caught and I didn't try to tell other people about it, and I went directly to them, not knowing what the consequences would be, and any reasonable person's idea would be, oh yeah, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
Like, despite that, did the right thing. They didn't charge me. There was no criminal intent, which is necessary in prosecution.
Wow.
Very, very lucky.
Yeah.
Some people said on Twitter, it went crazy because Gawker did a story about it, and then Engadget, and then Gizmodo, and they had already done stories on the Edward Snowden secret hiding place, Zoolander School of Kids Who Can't Read. Like, that kind of did okay, but like, this was, oh crap, because they played 2 of the calls that I had sent Gawker, and you could hear kind of what I heard when I listened to some of the calls I was able to record. I didn't listen to more than 2 because you don't want to hear something you can't unhear.
Yeah.
Like, oh crap, I'm gonna end up in a burlap sack, and I get itchy like really bad. Like, burlap, not so much.
How many calls did you end up recording? Like
40.
like 30 calls?
40.
Oh, so that must have been live not for very long then.
I turned it off. I switched it back over and then and stopped recording calls, but the pipe still worked. Like,
the call forwarding was effectively still there.
Yeah, I just didn't want to record anymore. And apparently that was a good idea, but too late because each call was 5 years in prison.
Yep.
And I'm not a math expert, but I'm guessing 200 is more than I've got.
Yeah, yeah. I'm no offense. I'm surprised they didn't get you for recording a call without someone's permission.
Both people's. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard of much less in in other states
Oh,
when it's not the government.
people have gone to jail for the 3 strikes rule, and combined those crimes were less than this one. I don't know. Is it like that I had a top secret clearance in the Marines? Is it white privilege? If this isn't white, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm not saying it exists or not, but if it does, this is it.
Did they explain why they took such a delicate hand with you?
Because it was so stupid, and that I was trying to help, and there was no criminal intent. They said, no, you're not allowed to do this again.
Yeah.
Like,
And if you do, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that was it. And so then that's where it stopped. Like, I know that I'm being watched. I know that I don't jaywalk. I put my recycling in the correct bins. Like, we're just minding our P's and Q's. That's what we're doing.
Do you have a sense that they're monitoring you to this day, or do you think that's
No,
not
not any like sort of active. But if I ever did, I would feel safer in general. Just nothing's bad's going to happen to you if you've got people watching you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, unless they're the ones that are coming to collect you.
And that would be fair. Like, I've had a good run. I mean, just like, who am I going to get mad at?
Yeah.
They didn't make me do it.
And they treated you very fairly.
They did. Yeah,
So,
I can't think of anything. Yeah, I can't think of anything that I have a right to complain about.
so is this at all one of the, now that I've done this, they want to hire me to do other stuff for them?
Everyone says that, but God, no. No, there was never even no one ever thought like, hey, that idiot who came in here yesterday, we should totally hire him. It wasn't that at all. And it wasn't particularly technology centered. It was a logic flaw and using a system that was designed a certain way, but there was loopholes in how you could get Google Maps businesses online. And it wasn't like I hacked a router or broke into an NSA database or whatever any sensational sort of hack looks like.
You effectively didn't do anything that anybody else couldn't have done.
Correct.
Like, anybody else can update a business.
But the fact that no one else saw it and saw to do that was
that
probably good judgment on everyone's part, right?
Well, I wonder, like, how many, like, I wonder if there were any more nefarious instances of that going on that we just don't know about.
That's terrifying.
Because it's not like
you can't detect it.
You can't detect it, and it wasn't like it was, like you said, it wasn't, I didn't hack into Google and get into their back end to change stuff.
I've had people one guy in particular who's the CISO for a Fortune 500 said that they've found Google Maps locations for people pretending to be their company so that they give legitimacy to like a subdomain or a phone number so people can go and look them up, and they find this link. So like if you include it in the email signature, it shows up as a real place. Whether I caused that or inspired people, that's remains to be seen. No one's given me credit, so thank you for not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I totally see that someone running a scam or a con job is going to they're going to backstop their story, so to speak.
It's a way to gain legitimacy.
Yeah. and so do you see that still happening on Google Maps?
Yes.
And has Google ever had a conversation with you about it?
Not really, no. I've given suggestions to other people who work with them. I don't think that they want to work with me. I don't blame them. If I'm persona non grata, I get it. Totally fair. It it only came out of them being extremely stubborn and saying what you're saying is impossible. We were ignoring it. Wasn't trying to collect a bug bounty or anything.
Yeah.
They're like, you're you and we're Google. You go ahead and just get out of here.
Well, and it technically wasn't a bug; it was a feature.
By design.
There's nothing wrong with. There was nothing technically wrong. It was just implemented in such a way that it could be easily exploited.
Right. And it comes down to like even pen testing or cybersecurity in general. Some companies actively pen test, and those guys in their personal life probably go to therapy regularly, because therapy is a lot like pen testing. You're finding problems and going, oh, that's a big deal. Like, I hate my father, or my mom was controlling. Whatever the thing is, you got to deal with it, and then you untangle that knot and then move forward. You find the problem, fix the problem, then start over again. And that the faster you can get that cycle going, the more problems you find, the more safe and secure your company will be, or the better off you'll be mental health wise. Some people think, hey, no, you know what? No, therapy's not for me. That's for other people. I don't talk about feelings. I'm going to hold them in here, and then I'll die someday, and I'll never have to deal with it. And they hide breaches.
Yeah.
And they cover up screw ups because they think it'll make them look weak, when in reality, it just means you're on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, good luck not getting breached.
It's either you've been breached or you don't know that you've been breached.
Right.
Or you will get breached.
Most people agree that salting and hashing password or databases of credentials is a great idea. Well, if you do that, then you're assuming that you're going to get breached, and that's a good thing to have happen. But being super cocky and going, no, we're never getting breached. We don't need to do any of that. That just adds headache. Super negligent.
Yeah.
There's a million other analogies like that in tech, but yeah, some people want to cover stuff up and they don't want to admit that they made a mistake. And that's the first step in making another mistake.
Yeah, is hiding
Oh,
things. Yeah. The cover, what is that? The cover up is almost always worse than the crime.
Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing more people prosecuted for stuff like that. It happened recently. Not saying that was deserved or not, but the first case where the Uber CISO was Sullivan was like probation. I don't know what he got sentenced with.
I think so.
It was, yeah. Good guy though. It sucks, but someone's got to go first, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are a plenty of businesses that have been hacked. They knew they were hacked. They knew they were breached, and it's like we're just not going to say anything and hope no one ever finds out.
Right, because the cost of like I got called from a news reporter a couple of years ago that Washington State University had to send out. I think it was Washington State. Let's just say I think had to send out letters to all the people that were breached, and that cost alone was $30 million to send out letters in envelopes and mailings. So they have insurance, and that $30 million.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
For forever stamps are like what, 50 cents? Not even. Like, that's a lot of people. You'd think they'd get a better rate, something.
Bulk mail. Just send it to everybody.
Just skywrite it. Like, drive across the country in a Cessna. It'll be cheaper.
Yeah. So I'll ask you a question. I just did an interview with Jessica Barker, and I asked this question.
Brilliant.
She is. Great conversation.
He's actually qualified.
It's the previous episode.
Right.
And I'll ask you the question that I asked her, and we'll probably get the same answer. But I'm kind of curious. The notifications that you get. Hey, we value your security, but our security is the most important thing. But we got breached, and you got and your life has been dumped on the public internet. Do you think that's the right approach for the company to start off saying, "Hey, we value security," and then follow it up with, "But we messed up," without saying the words "But we messed up"?
I think I can understand why people do it. I don't think it's the most honest approach.
Yeah.
it reeks of lawyers who don't want to admit liability or culpability, but there's all these little things like to try to mitigate damage, because 99% of the people are going to react one way, but then 1% are going to react in a different way.
Yeah.
And you have to like play to those 1% who are going to be a-holes about it, and try to find a way to exploit it. So I get it, but I love an honest a company that's being like, hey, we screwed up here. Here's how we're going to fix it. Understanding that I can't go and teach a class on like how to keep your family safe by showing everything that I do
Yeah.
in every brand of router, because that eliminates certain variables in the equation to now people know exactly what to target. And eventually, like we were talking offline about GeoGuessers, and
Yeah.
my screen name is Brian the Maps Guy, which I wish I could change. I just don't have the creativity to come up with something elite hacker thing. Like there's some people who have really clever names. I'm like, oh dang, like I guess
Turn
I'm
the
stuck.
E's into threes.
I thought about doing that for my license plate. I mean, like hacker with like the 3 is the E, but I ended up going with a disabled Marine Corps vet plate that says dad bod.
There we go.
And it's gotten so much more laughs, and it's way better, right? In my opinion. But yeah, like the talking about geoguessing and people being able to look at something really obscure and specific and tell you exactly where in the world it was, or based on the color of the soil, and like holy cow, like I can't risk talking about specific stuff. So I can understand why companies won't exactly say we use this as our SIEM solution, and this is our antivirus, and this is our this. You'd have to go and get a job there to figure out what their security stack looks like. And that's not unreasonable. Like to if a nation state wants to target
Yeah.
somebody, but lazy entrepreneurial types who are overseas aren't exactly going to be able to get a job at, you know, something downtown San Francisco.
Yeah.
You'd have to actually go there, actually pass and figure out how to live in San Francisco.
You mean
God,
you
it's so
already
expensive.
have to come into San Francisco being independently wealthy just to get a job in San Francisco?
Yeah, if you make 100 grand a year, you're poor. Like you
Yeah.
can't. I think the Onion had an article about that. Like couple with 6-figure income tours best tent city in San Francisco. Like,
There was a Babylon Bee episode about instead of house hunters, it was tent hunters, and the couple had $600,000 going to buy a place in L.A. It's like, okay, here's your 1 bedroom tent.
plenty of sun through the hole in the fabric.
It was a selling feature, lots of sunlight. But to me, like when we were talking about the like, geoguessing based on a tiny photograph with a little bit of stuff in the background, it's kind of scary because I think we incidentally do broadcast a lot about our security posture. I had the realization a while back that I was talking with someone about security, and I realized that I have a security system, and there was a little sign outside the front door saying the name of the company.
Right.
It was not ADT, thank you very much. But
That
it
was
was
it's the first thing in my head though.
but it was the realization that like, oh, I just like gave somebody an attack vector to,
Yep.
hey, this is so and so calling from insert name of security company. Hey, there's a fault in your system. We need to come in and fix it.
Right.
I,
Now, if you had one for ADT, one for Ring, one for Comcast, and then just the NRA, just as a good measure, like if you had like the 4 hexagons sitting in front of your house, like people would be, uh-oh, like,
and then I
yeah,
routed the phone numbers all through the system that I could record and redirect them. No.
not a bad idea.
But it made me realize that like there are little things that we do
Yeah.
that we think are, well, I'm increasing my security by having this little sign out here saying that I have a security system, when in fact, well, it may help me against the burglar, it's not helping me against someone who's actually trying to attack. on a cybersecurity
Bumper
vector.
stickers. There was an infographic going about that. Like people who like hiking, people like this. You can tell a lot about people once they start putting all these identification things on their bumper.
I've seen
How
that.
many kids? How many kids you have? Like incrementing down.
Where you like to travel because you've got the little Hawaiian Islands thing on there. My kid was an honor student. Now I know where your kids go to school.
The Hawaiian Islands one always confuses me because you didn't drive. Like,
But I rented a car when I was there.
right, it got the bumper sticker and then you flew back. So it's like you're not road tripping, or maybe it always bet you have money if you're going to Hawaii because oh my god, it's expensive.
But that's the thing is like there's so many little things that we do. Like how do we keep track of all the little things that we do that disclose information about us that we don't realize that we're disclosing?
Right. And you get to a point where you know that like if you're paying attention and you travel internationally, I mean, I stick out like a sore thumb. I'm 6'4". So, and that's barefoot. So I'm already tall and white. I mean, white, like opening up the refrigerator, get a sunburn white.
If anyone's looking at the
Yeah.
recording, I'm pink, so I can relate.
And then tattoos, you can deduce I'm probably from the US or one of 3 or 4 countries, maybe UK, maybe Canada. But just the way that I dress, and then as soon as I start talking, um, there's lots of things like that that kind of give off and give indicators away if you're paying attention. You just have to get okay with some of them. Be like, there's no way you're going to hide all this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what people are going to, the impression they're going to take. And
I guess the question is knowing which stuff we should let be disclosed and which stuff we shouldn't let be exposed.
I would turn off Bluetooth on your phone.
Yeah.
And Wi-Fi on your phone. If your Wi-Fi automatically connects to known networks, people can do things like war driving and collect SSID information from lots of different sources, like Starbucks or the airport, and they can create towers. I've heard about nation states doing this, so like cell towers at airports. So when people immediately land and they turn their phone on, it's collecting information from their phone off a cell tower that's not the company owned. It's like a man in the middle. And so you're getting, oh, great, I've got cell service. You don't notice that that cell tower is controlled by somebody else. And there's no way to know.
Yeah.
Because it looks correct. And if you're automatically connecting to Wi-Fi that you've done before, somebody can spoof one that you've connected to before. And so now you're just, oh, yay, this is my friend. No, it is not.
You mean anybody can create a Wi-Fi called Starbucks Wi-Fi?
Anybody can, yes.
Or a free airport Wi-Fi?
Right. And you'd be like, a friend of mine does this for presentations, and he'll walk around and collect people connecting to him or deauth, and then they could reconnect. And then he shows it during a presentation. All the information you're able to get, like MAC addresses and names of their phone, and it gives a lot of intel.
And then all that stuff, like, I think it's when you're a crowd of people, it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but you're an incidental person in a crowd. But when someone's specifically targeting you, then it becomes more nefarious.
I mean, how many enemies do you have? Because if you've got a bunch of them, maybe, it's be more vigilant, or maybe don't be a dick. Yeah. But if you're just caught up in spam or like a big net because they're being lazy and they're sending an email to everybody, you have less to worry about.
Yeah.
That's why animals, herds, the whole thing, like pick off the one
safety in numbers.
Yeah, like zebra and their stripes. They're really easy to see by themselves. It's not camouflage until you see a bunch of them together and you're like, where does that zebra start and the other one end? It's only camouflage when they're in a group.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's really good. So how do we camouflage ourselves in groups?
People talk about,
don't name our iPhones.
Yeah, I leave mine as like iPhone parentheses 564. Like it keeps incrementing if you don't do something with it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what causes the incremental. It just keeps going up, which is fine by me. Like I don't need. It's just knowing that that stuff is available and visible, and then being able to, because you're gonna have to teach your kids. Like we've all accepted that when you buy a car, that's on you.
Yeah.
It's not on Ford to teach you when you need to change your oil. So the classic, like, oh, I taught my kid how to change a tire and change their oil. Show them how to set up MFA and why it's important. And if they think, oh, stupid, then you didn't do your job because they think it's stupid.
Yeah.
And that's incorrect. This isn't like, well, I don't like broccoli. And be like, okay, well, each person has their own taste. Like, I don't like broccoli. Fine. It's not a binary thing. Like people, that can be okay. Not doing the security stuff correctly isn't okay. And if your kids if you don't teach them about online privacy or what the scams are, what you don't have to go into super big detail, but an 8-year-old's knowledge of the internet versus a 15 or 16-year-old should be different.
Yeah.
And
Age appropriate.
And you should be helping them along with that as best as you can.
So are you an MFA purist? That one form is only the right form?
No, I mean, I avoid text message if it's possible. I use different I probably have all the authenticator apps, depending on which one I opened at that point or which one it requested, or if there's a specific, like Microsoft, Google, Duo, all of them. Like, and they're all in their own little folder.
This is my folder of authenticator apps.
Right. No, that's pretty much it. YubiKeys are pretty hard. They're, as far as I know, there's no way to really break them. Or there's no hack that, defeats their security. So,
but it's a matter of losing it.
I stopped drinking, and all of a sudden my phone stopped breaking. And I stopped losing stuff. So I've never left my debit card at a bar. I've never lost my phone in a cab, and I haven't lost a YubiKey. In fact, like I have too much stuff. I need to start losing stuff.
I did lose a credit card in a parking meter. I put it in the slot and it just kept going. It went clink, clink inside the machine. I'm like, oh, that's a problem.
Mine.
I'm like, gotta cancel that card.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, knowing that I take photos of all of my cards and keep them in an encrypted backup. So if I do need to cancel them, I know what the number is, I know what the CVV code is, and I know what the customer service number is off the back. Because you only need the number after you lose it.
Yes. Yeah, you never need it beforehand. Like, oh, now that I've lost the card, I need the customer service number. I need to get a hold of the fraud department. What's the best number? Go Google that. Google my business. Oh no, I'm just coming up with too many ideas.
And
all of them are wrong.
And then you forget that they might not be good ideas. It's like it's hard enough to find things that you enjoy doing as an adult and like on a day-to-day basis. So like if something's like, oh wow, it's like this magical event. Like I have energy and motivation to do this thing. Screw legality. This is a holy cow. I care.
Oh, so speaking of that, so why do you like talking about cybersecurity?
God, no, I have no idea. It's like, so boring what is it sometimes. It is. I like educating people, and I like making it funny. And if I can make it funny and people can pay attention and they can learn something, it's something that I have credibility in because of stupid things that I did. And it's enough of a story that people go, oh, okay, I want to hear what this guy has to say. And then it's an opportunity to like, not lure, but like it's a hook. He wiretapped the Secret Service. I got to listen to this train, right?
Yeah.
And then I get to say, okay, well, MFA is important, and here is why, and this is important, and here's why, and this is important, and here's why. And I've gotten to meet so many amazing people. Like I got a football from Steve Young, and spoke to his organization. I got to be on John McAfee's board. I got an endorsement from Mark Cuban in an article by Brian Krebs. It's like,
yeah,
I think that's winning, like sort of.
You've hit the trifecta.
And no one's getting McAfee's endorsement
Yeah.
anymore.
Yep. No.
However, I'm co-writing my book with a ghostwriter, but he's not ghostwriting my book. He's helping me write it. And he wrote McAfee's bio. And he traveled with him. He was in the documentary. And this guy's an amazing writer. And like getting to meet people at a level that's being in the industry for a long enough time that it becomes a small world. And then you get to meet the founder of what is my IP address. Like I've known about you adjacent to this website forever. And that's really cool. Like meeting people who built stuff that's key is, it's cool.
That is surprising how much that comes up in conversation. I'm like, yeah, like, hey, what do you do? Yeah, I own this website called whatismyipaddress.com. I'm like, oh, hey, I used that last week. Or they're like, you own that? That's really cool. It's a really weird experience from time to time.
And then it's like, what? But it's free. You're like, yeah. Like, how do you make money? Oh, that's complicated.
And
it's probably evolved quite a few times over the years.
And you want to know how much I make from each person visiting the website?
Almost nothing.
Almost nothing. But there's just a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, it's an aggregate, right?
Yes.
Like it's Office Space and Superman, but without the superhero or the movie.
Or the crime.
Right. Or the crime.
It's not a bank heist. Really, it's not a bank heist.
I can imagine like there's the way advertising and stuff works, it's gotta be challenging to keep it like, okay, but if it's your only source of income, you've had time to build something else.
Yeah.
Like
it's really been a fun business to build, and even like doing the podcast over the last couple of years, I'm just meeting some really neat people, and sometimes it gets me in the door when I otherwise wouldn't be able to get through the door.
So when you ran out of neat people, you met me?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what
I didn't run out of neat people. There's just so many neat people out there. I just have to find them.
Good luck. I've been trying. No, there are really a lot of cool people doing a lot of cool things, and being able to even know some of them or work around them and like try to help and be of use. That's sort of the day to day now.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to do something like I'm trying to help people, and that is, I'm helping people as opposed to I'm making a living off of people, if that makes sense.
Right. No. Like you can make a living and not have to feel bad about it. And that wasn't the reason, and no one can change or take away your intention. We still haven't figured out how to determine someone's intention. And anytime you see machine learning or AI claiming like we can tell bad traffic from good traffic, no, you can't. No, you can't. You're lying. Like we can't prove it in court either. You can only reasonably conclude someone did something maliciously, but maybe it was accidentally, or maybe it was stupidly, or maybe it was one thing or another, but you can't prove it. So when people can prove it, that'll be an interesting day.
Yeah, that'll be a scary day. Or maybe it'll be a good day. I'm not sure. Probably more scary than good.
Oh, well, then you're into the like Minority Report level, or it's like, oh, you had a bad thought, kill him.
Yeah,
like,
the thought police. No, we don't need thought police.
I should get credit for not all the bad things that I did that I thought of, and only doing the good ones.
Pay me for the things I didn't do, as opposed to the things I did do.
Oh, come on, keep it coming.
Okay, this has been a blast of a conversation, but we need to wrap up. If people want to find you online, we know they can't find you by finding Bryan Seely on Twitter, because that's not the name you use. How can people find you online?
Twitter is Bryan the Maps Guy, Bryan. You can look up Bryan Seely or Wiretapping Secret Service or Bryan the Maps Guy. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter for at least a little while before it completely goes to hell.
And at the moment, you have a knowledge graph on Google.
Do I?
You do.
What like does it measure my knowledge, or like?
No, you come up in the sidebar of a noteworthy individual.
No kidding, I didn't know that.
without even a link even without a Wikipedia reference. I mean, not that
I don't have. I do know I don't have a Wikipedia.
but
I
usually
was.
those like come from Wikipedia, and I was like, oh, hey,
I had
this is
ChatGPT
cool.
try to write Wikipedias just to see how funny. He has some children and lives in place. It didn't do its research, but it was really funny that way. Yeah, I answer. I typically am on LinkedIn or Twitter, and happy to answer questions. I'll be speaking in Luxembourg in about 3 weeks. I was just in Abu Dhabi with Fortinet, and I'm going to be converting my career into more mental health stuff and cybersecurity as I finish up a book. But I'm around, so it's not hard to find me. But if you're the one looking for me, then you've gone down a weird rabbit hole.
This has been this has been a very, it's been a fun discussion. It wasn't weird at all. It was, no, this is a ton of fun. And like, it's nice to have kind of the lighter side of cybersecurity conversation and not be so, we're all going to die.
So many people have that we're all going to die covered. Like,
Okay, I'm not going to go there any further then.
I really appreciate you having me on, Chris, and good to meet you.
Bryan, thank you so much for coming on today.